By the end of August 2024, 98% of Chinese credit institutions will not accept payments from Russian companies. The Moscow Times writes with reference to Russian importers. As one Russian company explained, in order to make a transaction, a full set of documents must be processed through third country nationals. But if such a person has a Russian name, Chinese banks request additional information or may refuse the transaction.
Russian names, including those not on sanctions lists, any ties to Russia, and inscriptions in the Cyrillic alphabet become grounds for payment cancellation. Chinese partners are afraid of secondary sanctions and are increasingly using zero trust in relations with Russian business in an attempt to eliminate any threat. From the Moscow Times.
The situation with payments in Russia has become sharply more complicated since December 2023, after US President Joe Biden signed a decree on secondary sanctions. This included sanctions against foreign banks for intermediation in transactions involving sub-sanctioned individuals and companies, as well as the supply of sub-sanctioned goods via third countries. Since August 2024, according to media reports, banks in the United Arab Emirates have started blocking payments for electronics supplied by foreign companies to Russia via the UAE. Due to the threat of secondary US sanctions, Turkey's largest state-owned bank, Zira, stopped payments in rubles. But Turkish banks started to minimize transactions in lira with Russia in early 2024. Financial institutions in Georgia and Kazakhstan are also reacting to new US restrictions. According to forecasts, due to the sanctions, prices for electronics and household appliances in Russia may rise by at least 20% early this autumn.
At the moment, appliances are imported to Russia via third countries so that exporters do not fall under sanctions. But due to the growing number of intermediaries, the cost of goods is also increasing. The main problem on the market of foreign household appliances remains the fall in imports caused by the slowdown in settlements with other countries, particularly China. From the Moscow Times.
After the Russian army launched the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Russian government tried to mitigate the impact of sanctions and increased spending on the military-industrial complex to record levels. However, as experts explain, the Russian military industry has hit a ceiling due to acute labor shortages, restrictions on the use of technology, equipment maintenance, and component supplies.
There is no trust in the figures published by the Russian Federal State Statistics Service. Gazprom has now made a loss for the first time in many years, actually even decades. And foreign trade, it is increasingly difficult to buy imported goods. In fact, this is the path the Soviet Union followed in the 1980s. It constantly increased its spending on armaments, and that eventually led to the economic problems that the Soviet Union faced, which led to its collapse.
According to Reuters, citing the Pentagon, the war against Ukraine has already cost Russia $1.3 trillion. These funds were previously planned to be spent on the country's economic growth until 2026. Reported by Anastasia Tarnavska, Христина Домбровська, UATV News.